there is a problem of moral relativism that is just a short distance away from mainstreaming a discourse on decoloniality. It just leads us to a situation where we start justifying everything in the name of indigenous subjectivities. Right? I'd like a response from you on that.
There is one negative response and then there's one positive response. The negative response is, if you believe that a culture does not have the right to subjectivity, at the very least, it seems to me that your position is that one culture will universalize its provincial experience and call it a universal standard. So I'm asking myself a simple question. Is it truly your case that the rest of the world is divided only between these two choices? One is moral relativism, the other is universalization of one particular experience. If that seems to be the position, and that is the problem that people express with respect to the decolonial approach, it is my view, then that represents a fundamental failure to understand decoloniality itself. Now, what does this mean? Let's take this to the realm of examples and make it very, very specific. When I say that Bharat must retrace its past, understand it on its own merits, without glorifying it, understand it what's and all completely, good, bad, and the ugly, am I making a case for the recreation of all aspects which do not have any place in current society? Is that the case that I'm making for? Therefore, am I making a case for untouchability? Am I making a case for sati? Am I making a case for dowry? Am I making a case for everything that you find objectionable as far as this culture is concerned? There, what have I said? First of all, what you think of sati, there is literature on that, please go through that. What you think of caste, please go through that. But I've taken this position very clearly in a discussion with Ashish, that none of this is meant to justify it and say that this needs to come back. The simple question is this. All of us are part of this particular discussion. Assume that this were the global table of cultures. And you represent the European, or perhaps Ashish, because of the complexion. Okay? Assume that that is the case. Okay? Ashish says, I am white. I have been divinely ordained to spread the gospel to the rest of the world. And therefore, my experience, which is good for me, is equally good for the rest of us. And the rest of us are mere passive recipients of his downstream imposition of culture. Then I'm saying none of us has a say. We are not equal participants in this discussion. That is one way of looking at it, which is to say universalizing the European experience. The other extreme is to basically say he can go on killing people in the name of cannibalism and justifying it as subjectivity. You can go on wife beating and, not a personal experience, I'm just saying this, okay? And you can justify it saying that this is my subjectivity. And he can have sex slaves citing subjectivity. I can then start having let's say, a slave economy based on caste, and I call it subjectivity. This is another extreme. I am not seeing either of these two. I am simply going back to the golden mean, which is assuming that it is theoretically possible to fashion a universal standard, assuming that is even possible, okay, and desirable. I say both. Then what do? All of us create what is known as a CMP for this, a common minimum program which takes into account our respective inputs, so that there is a certain degree of compromise that all of us have to make, and there is a certain degree of retention in terms of continuity that all of us are entitled to. Okay? That way we are able to choose what is core, what is important for us to retain, and what is it that all of us are willing to give up. Okay? That's the basic question. Now, unfortunately, this is being muddled as moral relativism. Moral relativism, if anybody understands it, simply translates to it is my wish, it is my choice, it is my experience, and therefore that in itself is justification of my position. That is not how it works. And so that is certainly not how the decolonial literature works. It simply says there needs to be a discussion. So for instance, when Immanuel Kant or John Locke or any of these people who were fashioning, let's say, theories, at the peak of the colonization in the 17th and 18th century, did they even step back for a moment and take into account the ethics, the morality, and the origins and the political theology of other cultures before they fashioned it? Their own responses, they are not worth looking at, simply because they come from the inferior races, coupled with the fact that it is our job to save them. When you approach the rest of the cultures with that sense of condescension and benevolent condescension, if I may call it so, then there is no scope for it at all, because at least if you hate someone, you will listen to the person and you hate it. But if it is benevolent condescension, you will infantilize that particular position and dismiss it completely, say, "Bachcha hai, isko sunne ki zarurat nahi hai." Okay. Therefore, I am not trying to recreate the past. I've said this abundantly in the book. In fact, on page 103, if I may recall it, I've specifically made the statement that universal standards do not translate to universalization of one particular standard. It truly means creation of a truly universal standard with, at the very least, the basic participation of major cultures across the world. Only then you can think of it as a universal standard. That is the basic position that I've taken. Unfortunately, despite triple readings and multiple readings, I don't think some people have understood it. It's okay. It's a new concept. Everybody has their own pace of learning. Some people learn it faster, some people are slow. It is okay. I'm more than happy to, because you see, सबके समझने की और सोचने की एक गति होती है. You should let the people who are slow at learning this give them own sweet time and say, आप आइए, हम आपके लिए यहाँ पे इंतजार करेंगे, प्रतीक्षा करेंगे. We'll wait for you.
If I can also just add to that, it is also amusing to think that a civilization that has lived for such a long time wouldn't have encountered this problem. And if you just look at the dharmic literature, the whole idea of Samanya Dharma, the idea of Vishesha Dharma, the idea of Nitya Karmas, it gives you a very clear blueprint of how to deal with this.
Correct.
And therefore, I think the question also becomes, the quality of the subjectivity matters.
Correct.
You cannot infantilize a civilizational experience and say
Absolutely.
that you are incapable of actually exercising your agency.
I'm simply saying all of us have the right to hold our own subjective positions. But whether they are equally valid or not, on a specific issue, there needs to be a discussion on the subject. That is the limited position. Let's go a step further. Every society has a core, and let's say it's fashioned in the form of concentric circles. With every fringe that moves away from the epicenter, the quality of commitment to the tradition comes down. Okay. Now here's the funny part, that the outermost fringe of the society, which does not practice the tradition at all in any way, which does not live their experience in any way, is hoping to impose its version of what must be a universal standard on the core practitioners of a certain dharma, thereby diluting the very foundations itself, as opposed to it being the other way around. Simply because the farther you are, and let's say the proximity as it goes down, your knowledge, your lived experience, and the Nitya Karma that you speak of actually goes down. Therefore, as you just pointed out, here are the core practitioners of the dharma in every possible sense, and as you go further away from it, you're practicing it in the most diluted form possible. And you are meant to practice it in a diluted form simply because you don't have what it takes by way of discipline as well as training to practice it in the core form. So dare not assume the position of pontificating to the rest of the society what we must all do. The funny part is, this is not just a question of universalizing Western experience on Bharat. We are hoping to universalize the diluted practice of dharma within the dharma itself on everybody else. That is the worst possible way, which is to say, you've acquired a certain cultural experience from the outsider, you've decided it's universal, and now in the name of a universal standard, you're asking everybody else to conform. According to me, this is illiberal liberalism, this is not progressivism, this is cultural fascism in another form. And this can't be passed off as universalization and a call for universal standards. This is cultural fascism, 100%.